Welcome to Spectrum News Within the Week. I am Rita Inung, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu urges UN world leaders to reform or lose relevance. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umar Eno family host memorial service in honor of late Patience Umar Eno. Plus, UK wants Israel not to retaliate against Palestinian statehood. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back to Spectrum News Within the Week. First in the news within the week is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Tuesday delivered a strongly worded reform policy proposal to the United Nations, warning that the global body must embrace sweeping restructurings or face growing irrelevance as world events increasingly bypass its influence. The president criticized the organization's record, pointing to the ongoing human suffering in the Middle East and other regions. In his address to the UN General Assembly, President Tinubu, who was represented by his Deputy Vice President Kashim Shettima, warned that the UN's credibility is being undermined by the gulf between its words and its deeds, while positioning Nigeria's economic transformation as a model for developing nations. President Tinubu outlined 4 key reform demands, starting with Nigeria's call for permanent UN Security Council membership. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria within the week urged African nations to take control of their mineral resources and reform the global financial system that has long exploited the continent. Represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, Tinubu made the call at the Second African Mineral Strategy Group AMSG High-Level Roundtable on Critical Minerals Development in New York, held alongside the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. In a statement released Tuesday by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Stanley Nkwocha, Tinubu stressed the urgent need for Africa to finance its mineral sectors independently and assert influence over global supply chains. Tinubu pledged Nigeria's commitment to catalyzing a mineral-led renaissance under the Renewed Hope agenda and called on African leaders to end the ignoble cycle of importing finished goods by accelerating government-led mineral exploration. And in the meantime, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the immediate construction of new hostels at the Nigerian Law School, Abuja campus, and a major road project linking the body of Bencher Secretariat in Jabi district with Now University, both in Abuja. According to a statement issued by the Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, Lere Olayinka, the President directed the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, to execute the projects under emergency consideration on infrastructure. Tinubu also directed the construction of the access road linking the body of Bencher Secretariat to the Now University. The FCT Minister's office said the road, once completed, will not only provide smooth access to the Secretariat, but also ease traffic congestion on the busy route leading to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC headquarters. Elsewhere, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu within the week reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting constitutional reforms designed to strengthen Nigeria's democratic institutions. Speaking while declaring open a public hearing on Wednesday, the review of the 1999 Constitution in Abuja, Tinubu said the exercise was crucial for deepening governance. Represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the President described the review process as a golden opportunity to entrench good governance, inclusivity and sustainable development. Tinubu also commended the House of Representatives Committee on Constitution Review, chaired by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, for its efforts. He added that the review was consistent with the objectives of his renewed hope agenda. Meanwhile, the presidency has said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has no intention of remaining in office beyond May 28, 2031, if re-elected in 2027, affirming that he remains committed to democratic principles. In a statement on Sunday, the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy to President Tinubu, Bayo Onanuga, said that the speculation by former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai that the president wants to remain in power beyond his tenure is baseless and absurd. Recall that during a solidarity visit from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar over the weekend, El-Rufai alleged that the Tinubu's administration is veering toward authoritarianism, comparing the president to Cameroon's Paul Biya, who has remained in power since 1982. Away from that, the federal government within the week set up a committee to investigate the cause of the explosion at the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, in Kaduna State. Recall that on Saturday there was an explosion at the Ordnance Factory disposal pit of the factory. Speaking in a live broadcast, the managing director of Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited and a former head of security at the Senate, Kabir Adamu, said the incident is currently being investigated by the federal government. According to him, the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, has visited the facility to assess the situation. And in the meantime, the federal government has announced its plans to achieve 95% digital literacy among Nigerians by 2030, with a specific target of training and empowering at least 30 million citizens by 2027. The Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, Kashifu Abdullahi, represented by the agency's Director of Stakeholder Management, Aristotle Onumo, made this known in Abuja at the grand finale of the Tech for Dave Digital All Challenge 2.0. Abdullahi explained that NITDA is driving the initiative through strategic partnerships, particularly with the National Youth Service Corps and educational institutions across the country. Highlighting the role of NYSC, Abdullahi noted that the agency trans corps members as digital literacy champions who are deployed nationwide. He further revealed that NITDA, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, has successfully integrated digital literacy into the national curriculum at all levels of education. Meanwhile, the federal government has stated its goal of attracting more funds and investment into the Nigerian oil and gas sector. It is at the center of its decision to devote more executive attention to ongoing reforms in the energy sector. The Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Oluwehirijen, disclosed this in Abuja when she received the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Renaissance African Energy Company Limited, Tony Atta. Her call was on more investments for the oil and gas sector, following federal government's bid to ramp up crude oil production and increase its oil revenue. The Special Advisor commended the company's over 40% oil production increase within 150 days of its completion of the transaction in March 2025, when it successfully acquired the shares of Shell Petroleum Company Limited. And from the legislature, where The National Assembly within the week postponed the resumption of plenary sessions by 2 weeks, originally scheduled to resume on September 23rd. Plenary will now commence on October 7th. This was disclosed in a memorandum sent to all members of the National Assembly and signed by the clerk, Kamaru Ogunlana. In the memo, Ogunlana requested all distinguished senators and House of Representative members to take note of the new date and adjust their schedules accordingly. Meanwhile, the National Assembly within the week unsealed the office of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, located in Suite 205 of the Senate wing. The office was unsealed by the Deputy Director of the Sergeant-at-Arms, Alabi Adedeji, potentially paving the way for Kogi Central Senator to return to the Red Chamber when plenary resumes on October 7, 2025. Recall that the Kogi Central Senator had, a week earlier, written to the Upper Chamber to notify them of her intention to resume duties following her 6-month suspension. On judicial matters, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, will on Monday, September 29, swear in 57 new senior advocates of Nigeria as part of programs lined up to formally herald the 2025/2026 legal year of the court. The occasion is billed to hold at the main courtroom of the Apex Court. A statement by the court's Director of Information and Public Relations, Dr. Festus Akode, confirmed this in Abuja. According to report, during the special court session, the Chief Justice of Nigeria will deliver a State of the Judiciary address. Other leading stakeholders in the justice sector will present speeches bordering on the state of the sector. Recall that the Supreme Court commenced its annual vacation after a remarkably successful 2024-2025 legal year on Monday, 21st July 2025. Meanwhile, the planned commencement of trial in the cybercrime charges brought against suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan before the Federal High Court in Abuja was stalled on Wednesday following an objection raised by her counsel, Ehioje West Idahosa, SAN. Akpoti-Uduaghan is facing a 6-count charge brought under the Cybercrimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024, brought against her by the federal government. Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was arraigned on June 30 and granted bail on self-recognition, is alleged to have transmitted false and injurious information via electronic means with the intention of maligning, inciting, endangering lives and breaching public order. The charge filed by the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Mohammed Abubakar, stated that Akpoti-Uduaghan, while addressing a gathering on April 4, 2025 in Ihima, Kogi State, alleged that the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, instructed former Governor Yahaya Bello to have her killed in Kogi State. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino and his family yesterday hosted a memorial service in honor of the late First Lady of the state, Patience Umo Eno, at the All Nations Christian Center, Eket. The solemn gathering, which brought together Nigeria's political leaders, first ladies, traditional rulers, clergy and citizens, turned into a festival of glowing tributes to her life of service, humility and quiet strength. In a deeply emotional reflection, Governor Umo Eno described his late wife as more than a companion but the anchor of his life's journey, stressing that the late First Lady lived a life of patience and contentment. He appreciated the people for standing by the first family in these trying times while praying for God's core blessings on all. On his part, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio paid glowing tribute, describing the late First Lady as a bridge builder whose life was devoted to peace, unity. Similarly, the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, described late Patience as a missionary on an errand for God, noting that her works of charity and humility made her worthy of sainthood. On behalf of Nigeria's First Ladies, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, wife of the Lagos State Governor, described the late First Lady as humorous, humble, and family-oriented. Speaking for the children, Pastor Ebong Eno remembered their mother as a loving and God-fearing woman who taught discipline, peace, and contentment not only to her children but to everyone around her. Other tributes came from Prince Enobong Uwa, Secretary to the State Government, Udeme Otong, Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Senator Ekong Samson, and His Eminence Ntenyin Solomon Etuk, amongst others, all describing her as a matriarch and peace advocate whose impact remains indelible. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that in his sermon drawn from 2 Kings 13 verses 14 to 20, Apostle Lawrence Achudume reminded believers that how one lives determines how one will be remembered, adding that late Patience Umo Eno lived well. In the meantime, Akwa Ibom State on Tuesday celebrated its 38th anniversary, with Governor Umar Eno delivering a broadcast that highlighted the state's journey of growth, unity and peace since its creation on September 23, 1987. Governor Eno, in his statewide address, expressed gratitude to God and the people of Akwa Ibom for sustaining the vision of the state's founding fathers. He also paid tribute to former military President General Ibrahim Babangida, GCFR retired, who created the state, describing the gesture as a unique gift that transformed the hopes of many into reality. Reflecting on the state's progress, the governor said Akwa Ibom has evolved from a glorified village into the nation's best-kept secret, with world-class road infrastructure, elegant housing estates, a thriving airline in Ibom Air, which carries the flag of excellence in the Nigerian aviation sector, and recognition as official FIFA and CAF football host. Governor Eno outlined achievements of his administration under the Arise agenda, including 771 kilometers of road projects either commissioned or ongoing across the 3 senatorial districts, stressing that some of these roads were inherited from past administrations on which they have deployed the finisher's anointing. The launch of the Akwa Ibom Security Trust Fund, provision of solar-powered housing for vulnerable families, and the ongoing free food distribution programs, which has reached over 500,000 households.
I come to you full of gratitude to God and to you, my dear people, for the great journey of purpose we have collectively undertaken in the past 38 years. It has been a journey of renewal, of phenomenal growth, of undiluted peace, of the deepening of bonds of unity, kindred spirit, and pride in our collective identity. Let me again, as I've always done in the past, on behalf of the government and people of this great state, thank and celebrate our former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, GCFR, retired. For this unique gift, may God continue to bless him with good health, a sound mind, and spirit. Uyo today is home to some of the most elegant housing estates in the nation. A thriving airline, Ibom Air, carries our flag of excellence in the nation aviation sector, signposting our ascendancy in that sector. In sports, we are the official FIFA and CAF designated host of World Cup and African Cup football matches. All over the state, the energy is infectious, our people are hopeful, and the sunny disposition on what the future holds is palpable. Our economic fundamentals are strong and resilient as we arise together to build a golden future that unlocks our potentials. It has been 38 years of God's blessings, of lifting up where there appeared to be a casting down, and we should all be very proud. Let me at this time pay my glowing tributes to all our past governors. These leaders were passionate, determined, and focused in moving our state forward, and we should celebrate and honor them for their service to the state, rather than disrespecting or castigating their legacies. We owe them deep respect.
He also reaffirmed his government's commitment to agriculture and tourism, announcing plans for a tree crop development initiative, the commissioning of the Araj resorts in December, and the construction of a 350-bed Ibom International Airport. Other projects include the International Convention Center, Ibom Towers and apartments in Lagos, and Ibom Hotels and apartments in Abuja. The governor called on political leaders and citizens to uphold peace and unity as the political season draws closer, urging them to avoid inflammatory rhetoric and to place the state's collective interest above partisan divisions. He also cautioned youth against being used as agents of violence. Governor Ino further reiterated that September 24th, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Nyesom Wike, CON, would commission the 15.13-kilometer Ikot-Otomo-Azumini Road and other internal roads in Ika local government area.
Today we are determined to expand the frontiers of all those developmental gains and prime our state away from dependency on oil to tourism, which is the new black gold. Through our governance blueprint, the Arise agenda, we have reignited our passion in agriculture and the need to produce our staple food so our people may have enough to feed their families and to earn income too. The tree crop development plan, which we will soon launch, will provide generational and sustainable economic prosperity for our people and restore our place as the nation's leading oil palm producers. I urge you to participate in this exercise once it is launched. We are providing access roads in our rural communities and have expanded the road infrastructure in the state, as we have done over 771 kilometers of road, either commissioned or ongoing across the 3 senatorial districts. Some of these roads were inherited from past administrations on which we have deployed our finishers anointing. Tomorrow, September 24th, the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, His Excellency Barrister Nyesom Wike, CON, will help commission the 15-kilometer Ikot-Otomo-Azumini Road and other internal roads in Ika local government.
He expressed appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his support to the state and acknowledged Senate President Godswill Akpabio's role in strengthening federal cooperation while pledging Akwa Ibom solidarity as the president seeks re-election in 2027.
Well, let me end this broadcast by again appealing to you, my dear people, to remain united, peaceful, and hopeful as the political season unfolds. I urge us not to allow the flaming passion of politics to divide us. Elections will come and go, but the Akwa Ibom spirit of love, brotherhood will remain. We are running Akwa Ibom united across party lines. Let me again thank our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR for the love he has shown us and the cooperation he has equally extended to our dear son, the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, GCON. We pledge our unflinching support to him as he submits himself again in 2027 for Nigerians to return him to Aso Rock to complete his audacious reforms that have already started to bear fruit across the Nigerian economic and social sectors.
Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino, who within the week tasked the newly sworn-in chairman, Akwa Ibom Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers, His Royal Majesty Akuku Saviour Sylvester Udofia, and other traditional rulers in the state on the need to use their exalted offices to promote cooperation and unity in the state. The governor made the charge during the symbolic swearing-in ceremony of Akuku Udofia as the 38th chairman of the Apex Traditional Institution. Speaking at the ceremony attended by the all paramount rulers and traditional chiefs in the state, Governor Ino assured the newly sworn-in chairman, who is also the paramount ruler of ABAC, of his unflinching support to the traditional institution. However, he urged the chairman to use his position to work collaboratively with local and state governments to maintain peace and grow the state. The governor reassured the traditional rulers of his administration's commitment to prioritizing their welfare and announced the donation of brand new vehicles as parting gift for the outgone chairman, His Royal Majesty Edidem Basi Etimedat, the paramount ruler of Udonguko local government area. Speaking further, he urged the monarchs to resist political influence in matters that are purely traditional, adding that Akwa Ibom State is now a united state, famously christened Akwa Ibom United. Earlier in his welcome address, the State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Frank Achibong, described the event as a moment of cultural significance. He praised the governor for his visionary leadership and dedication to improving rural infrastructure, adding that the administration's Arise agenda has brought notable development to the state and consolidated upon the gains of the past 38 years. In his remarks, the Oku Ibom Ibibio and President General of the Supreme Council of Akwa Ibom State's traditional rulers, Ntenyin Solomon Etuk, CFR, commended Umar Eno's peace-loving disposition and pledged the commitment of the traditional rulers to maintaining the advisory role to ensure peace. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that high points of the event was the swearing-in of Akuku Udofia and presentation of certificates of recognition to clan heads and village heads. Elsewhere, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, has reaffirmed its determination to institutionalize transparency, accountability and inclusivity in the way it delivers educational interventions. The fund made the commitment at the 2025 Board of Trustees Town Hall meeting for South-South beneficiary institutions held in Uyo. Our correspondent Esther Otoyo, who was at the event, brings detail. Thank you.
The South-South Board of Trustees BOT Town Hall meeting brought together key players in the educational sector, including vice-chancellors, rectors, provosts, academic leaders and other stakeholders to review progress, share experiences and chart a collective path for the future of higher education in Nigeria. While highlighting the achievements of TETFund, board member South-South Zone Abo Uduyok said the board has approved the mini-grid power project under the 2025 intervention cycle with a 70 billion naira allocation across 18 institutions. He called on the collective effort of all stakeholders to participate in building tertiary education institutions that are globally competitive, innovative, and deeply responsive.
As we gather here today, our purpose is to strengthen accountability, deepen transparency, and build stronger bonds of trust among all stakeholders who share the responsibility of advancing higher education in Nigeria. The Board of Trustees recognizes that the fund cannot thrive in isolation. It must be responsive to the aspirations of tertiary institutions and align with the development of tertiary education of our country.
Several speakers in their presentations highlighted difficulties faced by Nigerian universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, such as poor infrastructure, underfunding, brain drain, and low research output. While identifying the contributions of TETFund, they recommended more support for digital learning infrastructures and innovations.
That President Tinubu assumed office in May 2023 with an economy faced with multiple challenges such as what? Very sluggish growth of the economy, falling revenues, crippling subsidy system, banditry, public discontentment over the deterioration of living standards. His administration interpreted this, characterized these challenges as a period and a time of monumental challenges in our country that we're going through a very serious crucible in our country. And then to show up our hope, he came up with a promise. And at this time, needed to take bold steps, sometimes very painful steps. And then he brought this promise, renewed hope, and then identified TEDFON as a critical channel for translating this vision into tangible results, with a mandate to manage education tax that were collected from the company, fund public tertiary institutions.
Therefore, remain the only source of supplementary capital projects for public universities, technology, and university polytechnic and co-education. We must have targeted PhD and postdoc scholarship in strategic fields. We must also have trained the trainer and better teaching methods, to be started in the schools. We must also have fellowship programs for industry placement.
Participants applauded TechFund, noting that the meeting provided an opportunity for open dialogue on the challenges confronting the sector and the solutions needed to address them. They, however, rejected President Tinubu's 10 million naira loan to tertiary education lecturers, demanding for a more sustainable intervention.
TechFund has done so much for us as an institution. But first of all, some observations. The quality of projects. The money has not changed, but the cost of materials to do these projects have increased. TechFund should look at the quality of projects done, the people you send to come and supervise those projects. You must know them properly.
Last year or so, TechFund was serious about security of these facilities, and I was in that meeting, one of those meetings, where we are promised that plans will be made for protection of these facilities being introduced in our colleges. But this year, we have not seen any of such. And I wish something has to be done.
I believe that Directorate of Academic Planning and other directorates should be sponsored for TechFund conferences and workshops to ease the financial burden of the beneficiary institutions.
This thing that we've done today will give us a pathway to develop our university for more rank.
The town
has to be done.
I believe that Directorate of Academic Planning and other directorates should be sponsored for TechFund conferences and workshops to ease the financial burden of the beneficiary institutions.
This thing that we've done today will give us a pathway to develop our university for more rank.
The town hall meeting featured interactive sessions among participants. Esther Otoyo, Spectrum News.
CBN slashes interest rates for first time in 3 years. Stay tuned for details of these and more in a moment. Welcome back to Spectrum News Within the Week, and many thanks for staying tuned. Now to the rest of the news stories. And now to Africa, where the West African states of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger have announced their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, ICC, stating that they no longer recognize its jurisdiction. The three military-led countries accused the court of arbitrarily prosecuting war crimes and serving as an instrument of neo-colonialist repression. They emphasized their commitment to upholding human rights protection in line with their values. Recall that the same argument had earlier been used by the three countries to justify their withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Still in Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo is set to lift its export ban on cobalt starting October 16th. The country's strategic minerals regulator announced that Congo will now control global supply through strict annual export quotas, adding that for the rest of 2025, miners will be allowed to export up to 18,125 tons of cobalt, a key material in electric vehicle batteries. Meanwhile, annual caps will rise to 96,600 tons for both 2026 and 2027. Reports say the ban was placed in February after cobalt prices, which hit a 9-year low, had triggered force majeure declarations from major producers, including mining giant Glencore. Meanwhile, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi issued a pardon on Monday for prominent activist Alaa Abdel Fattah, who was being jailed for the better part of the past decade. Prominent Egyptian British activist Alaa Abdel Fattah, who spent much of the past decade in jail, became a symbol of struggle for human rights in Egypt. His pardon Monday by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi followed a long campaign for his release, including a 10-month hunger strike by his activist and academic mother. The 43-year-old British Egyptian national, who was pardoned alongside 5 others, was a leading figure in Egypt's 2011 uprising and was jailed under each administration since following his latest arrest in 2019. Abdel Fattah was sentenced in December 2021 to 5 years in prison for spreading false news after sharing a Facebook post about alleged torture in Egyptian jails. And on the foreign scene, the head of the Kremlin-backed government in annexed Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov, has blamed Ukraine for a deadly drone strike, while Kyiv said a Russian attack had killed 3 people in the country's southeast. Aksyonov said the Ukrainian military had targeted the Crimean resort town of Foros, damaging the grounds of a sanatorium and a school building. He noted that 3 people were killed and 16 wounded as a result of the UAV attack, adding that fragments of the downed drone also caused a fire near the coastal city of Yalta. And still on the foreign scene, Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says she has warned Israel not to annex parts of the West Bank in retaliation for the UK's recognition of Palestinian statehood. Cooper made this known to journalists before attending a conference at the UN in New York, where France and other European states are due to make a similar announcement. Recall that Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that UK's recognition of a Palestinian state, along with Canada, Australia and Portugal. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, condemned the moves, saying they were giving a huge reward to terrorism. Meanwhile, the United States mission in Nigeria has declared that corrupt high-profile Nigerian officials will be denied entry into the U.S. In a post on X, the mission reiterated commitment to fighting corruption, stressing that accountability applies to all, regardless of status. Meanwhile, in United Kingdom, Reform UK announced plans to overhaul immigration rules if it wins the next election. The party said it would abolish the right of migrants to secure permanent residency after 5 years, a process known as indefinite leave to remain, ILR. On our business news, the federal government, through the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development within the week, announced a fresh revocation of not less than 1,263 mineral licenses. According to report, the licenses, which will now be deleted from the Electronic Mining Cadastral System portal of the Nigerian Mining Cadastral Office, include 584 exploration licenses, 65 mining leases, 144 quarry licenses, and 470 small-scale mining leases. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, gave the revocation announcement in a statement issued by his Special Assistant on Media, Shegu Tomori, in Abuja. The minister explained that the directive was issued due to the company's failure to comply with the requirement of paying their annual service fees. And still in business, the president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has accused the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers of collecting as much as 50,000 naira on every truck that loads fuel at the refinery, warning that such charges ultimately push up fuel pump prices and burden consumers. Speaking to newsmen while responding to New Peng's accusations that his company is preventing drivers of its newly deployed 4,000 compressed natural gas trucks from joining the union, Dangote said the union's levy are unsustainable. He described such actions as acts of rent-seeking that discourage efficiency in the sector. Dangote further reiterated that no driver or worker should be compelled to join a union, insisting that the Constitution and labor laws make union membership voluntary. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, on Tuesday cut the interest rate from 27.50% to 27% from 27.50%. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso announced this at a press conference after the two-day 302nd MPC meeting in Abuja. According to him, the members of the MPC unanimously agreed to cut due to the country's inflation decline for the past 5 months. MPC also adjusted the cash reserve ratio, CRR, to 45% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks. It also adjusted the asymmetric corridor at plus 250 basis points around the MPR. The committee retained the liquidity ratio, LR, at 30%. And still in business, the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NATI, has endorsed the recent decision of the federal government to revoke 1,263 mineral licenses belonging to operators who defaulted in paying statutory fees or failed to meet other obligations. In a statement issued by its Director of Communications and Stakeholder Management, Obiageli Honora, NATI described the action of the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, as bold, timely and consistent with the agency's audit's findings. According to the statement, the licenses revoked include 584 exploration licenses, 65 mining leases, 144 quarry licenses, and 470 small-scale mining leases. The NATI's support for the move is anchored on its recent industry reports, which have consistently highlighted widespread default among mining title holders. And still to come in the news. Brighton celebrates Nadozier's 4th place finish at the 2025 Ballon d'Or Award. Stay tuned for details of these and more in a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news stories. In health, the federal government within the week began laboratory investigations to determine the exact cause of a strange flesh-eating disease that has killed 7 people in Malabo, Adamawa State. Acting National Coordinator of National Tuberculosis, Borreliosis and Leprosy Control Program, Dr. Adesingbin Olufemi, disclosed this during an interview with newsmen in Abuja. Olufemi said that as of September 10th, there were 67 confirmed cases, with 8 patients undergoing surgical treatment at the Modibo Adama University Teaching Hospital, Yola. He explained that borreliosis is caused by Microbacterium ocerans, a bacterium commonly found in swampy environments and around stagnant riverine ecosystems. The expert said patients with mild symptoms were being treated at local health centers, while severe cases requiring surgery had been referred to specialist hospitals. And still in health, a physician, Dr. Sylvester Ikimosieje, had said that while wax in the ear is normal, excessive accumulation can lead to serious health problems if left untreated. According to him, earwax, also known as cerumen, plays a protective role, but when it becomes impacted, it can interfere with the hearing and cause discomfort. The physician explained that excessive wax could cause a variety of symptoms, ranging from mild discomfort to severe complications. He warned that self-treatment could worsen the condition if handled improperly. And now to sportswear. Galatasaray forward Victor Osimhen within the week returned to full training with his teammates ahead of his clash with Konyaspor. Recall that Osimhen sustained an injury in Nigeria's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Amavubi of Rwanda 2 weeks ago. The former Lille striker had missed Galatasaray's last 2 games across all competitions due to the injury. The 26-year-old has scored twice in 3 league appearances for the Yellow and Red this season. And still in sports, Inter Miami star Lionel Messi has congratulated Ousmane Dembele on his 2025 Ballon d'Or triumph after the French winger edged out Barcelona's Lamine Yamal to claim the prestigious award. The 8-time Ballon d'Or winner celebrated his former Barcelona teammate on social media. Dembele scored 35 goals in 53 appearances in all competitions for Paris Saint-Germain last term, helping French club win their first ever Champions League trophy, as well as Ligue 1 and the Coupe de France. He succeeded Manchester City midfielder Rodri as the winner and became the 6th Frenchman to win the Ballon d'Or after Raymond Kopa, Michel Platini and Jean-Pierre Papin, Zinedine Zidane and Karim Benzema. Meanwhile, Brighton and Hove Albion have congratulated their Nigerian international Chiamaka Nnadozie for finishing 4th in the Women's Goalkeeper of the Year category at the 2025 Ballon d'Or Award. Nnadozie was one of the 5 goalkeepers who made the final shortlist for the award, which was won by Anna Ampton of England, and Chelsea. In 2nd place was Anne-Catherine Berger of Germany. Gotham and Catacol, who play for Spain and Barcelona, placed 3rd, and in 5th place was Netherlands and Arsenal's first choice, Daphne van Domisla. On the entertainment news, American pop star John Legend within the week released performing at Nigerian singer Mr. Easy and billionaire businessman Femi Otedola's daughter Temi Otedola's wedding in Iceland. Recall that the lovebirds tied their nuptial knots in a glamorous ceremony in Iceland weeks ago. John Legend serenaded the couple and guests at the event with a performance of his lover's anthem, All of You, All of Me. The American music star released the experience during a recent live stream with popular streamer Kai Cenat. And lastly, in the news within the week, Nigerian singer Davido has become the latest member of the Recording Academy ahead of the 2026 Grammys. As a voting member, Davido will participate in the decision-making process of the Grammy Awards. The Afrobeat star described his admission into the Recording Academy as a game-changer. He added that he is honored to join the prestigious Recording Academy and looks forward to voting. Davido earned his first 3 nominations at the 2024 Grammys but lost all the categories. His 4th nomination came in the way of his collaboration with Chris Brown and Lojay, Sensational, which was nominated for the Best African Music Performance at the 2025 Grammys but lost to Tems' Love Me Jeje. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News Within the Week. I am Rita Inung. Enjoy the rest of your day.